General debate continued at United Nations headquarters today as heads of state gathered in New York for the opening of this year's General Assembly spoke on the unique challenges facing their countries and voiced concerns about the future. One of the major topics that these leaders addressed was the future security and development of the many nations, primarily in the Middle East and North Africa, going through radical changes to their political structures.
We, the international community, should offer this support while respecting the sovereignty and the territorial integrity of the member states of the United Nations organization.
There is no doubt that the world has entered a new era of important changes in which the growth of modern means of communication has led to rapid and unprecedented transformations in the world, such as those that we are now experiencing in our Arab region.
Today's debate also featured remarks from a man who is perennially among the more controversial speakers at the General Assembly, Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. He launched a scathing critique of the United States and its European allies, who he claimed had stacked the deck of the United Nations and international systems in their favor at the expense of poorer nations. He demanded immediate, radical changes to this system, a demand that led many state representatives to walk out of the speech.
The idea of creation of the United Nations remains a great and historical achievement of mankind. Its importance must be appreciated, and its capacities must be used to the extent possible for our noble goals. We should not allow the organization, which is the reflection of the collective will and shared aspiration of the community of nations, to deviate from its main course and play into the hands of the world powers.
These accusations were firmly rebuked by British Prime Minister David Cameron. He accused Ahmadinejad's Iran of committing human rights abuses and working to resist the wave of transformation and change gripping other countries in the region. Citing the success of the Libyan revolution and the international support that fostered it, Prime Minister Cameron encouraged greater activity to protect the world's vulnerable and a greater commitment to the UN's principles, especially in oppressed nations.
You can sign every human rights declaration in the world, but if you stand by and watch people being slaughtered in their own country, when you could act, then what are those signatures really worth? The United Nations has to show that we can be not just united in condemnation, but united in action, acting in a way that lives up to the United Nations founding principles and meets the needs of people everywhere.
A more moderate voice on this polarized day came from Tanzanian President Jakaya Kikwete. Acknowledging his country's 50 years of independence and progress, he reaffirmed his and his nation's belief in the power of discussion at the United Nations to diffuse the often rancorous tempers that flare in international diplomacy and ensure stability and development for nations around the world.
We've always believed that mediation, conflict prevention, and pacific settlement of disputes are the best means of resolving conflicts.
The animated exchange of accusations at UN headquarters today represents what the United Nations was created to do, act as a forum where conflict should be solved with words instead of weapons. This role will be on display even more vividly tomorrow, when Palestine and Israel are slated to speak on Palestine's controversial bid for UN-recognized statehood. Reporting from the United Nations, I'm Connor Schratz for South South News.